Hi, in this video we're going to capture data from Google Maps, import that data into Blender, and then use it to build a model that we can actually use in future projects and build upon. So we're basically going to use 3 programs, or 2 programs and 1 add-on. Blender, obviously. Then there's RenderDoc, which is some sort of graphical debugging program. We're going to use RenderDoc to sort of hijack a Chrome session and just capture whatever comes up in Google Chrome, in this case Google Maps data. And then we're going to use Elie Michel's Maps model importer to import the captured data into Blender. Elie Michel also has a GitHub page where he describes all the steps. It's also worth mentioning that there's already a video out there made by Arbes. I still thought it was valuable to make this video because it's just my interpretation of the same steps, and I'm going to build upon that knowledge with an actual use case. Let's get started. Now, I'm not gonna explain how to install Blender, Chrome, or RenderDoc. I think all the information you need you can find in the links below. You do have to pay attention though to the versions of these programs. Arbes mentioned in his video that you need a specific RenderDoc version, but if you read the comments, there are some people saying that you can use other versions. Also, the Map Modeler add-on should work with the latest Blender version at this time, which is 4.2. Yeah, so pay attention to that and just install the right versions. Okay, now that we have RenderDoc installed, you can run it for the first time. If you run it for the first time, you go to Tools, then Settings, and then make sure that this box is checked here, which will enable process injection. And it also says that you have to restart it after you checked it. I already checked it, so I don't have to restart. Next step, File, Inject into Process. And here you see all the processes that are running on your computer and the IDs assigned to them. What we're going to do is we're going to find the Google Chrome ID. And for this, as you can also read in the description of the video that Arbes put out, we need to run a certain prompt from the command line, which is this one. So you can open up the command prompt, run this. This number now is really important. Don't click OK just yet. Just focus on this number, because now if we go back into RenderDoc, press refresh, and then look for this number. We can see that Chrome has been found, and now we can inject and then actually click OK. Now we can see that it's working and it's capturing data that Chrome is loading. So now if we go to our location and we put it into 3D mode, full screen, get it as close as you can, because the closer you are, the more detail will be captured. So this seems about right. There we go. Go back to RenderDoc. Set this to start capturing after 2 seconds. Now we press this. Go back to Chrome. Start moving. You see it sort of stuttered there for a little bit, which means that now we should have the data that we need. Now we can save this. Already saved it before. Gonna save it again just for the sake of it. And there we go. All the data we need has been captured. So now we can go back to Blender. So here we are back in Blender. We go to File, Import, and then if the add-on is installed properly, we can go to Google Map Capture. Go to the file we just saved. It'll take a while to load. And there we have it. As you can see, everything looks good. Now there are a couple of things we need to do before we can start modeling. As you can see, if you press, see, everything is sort of like a quilt of meshes, basically. And if we have a look at the topology, it's kind of wonky. We cannot really use it as a model because you can't really work with this. So First things first, what we're going to do is I'm going to select all and join everything to make it one big mesh. Then under my shortcut keys, Q, I have the origin to geometry. You can also find it somewhere. There, set origin. If you right click, you can add it to your quick favorites. And then Shift S, selection to cursor. So now the mesh is in the center of the world. Another thing we want to do is we want to rotate it in such a way that will be easier to work with later on. Like since these cubes basically are the things that we're going to model, you can see it if we add a new cube, the orientation of these cubes. It's cool if the orientation of the building is like aligned with the orientation of like a new cube. So let's have a closer look. Rotate it so that it roughly lines up. You can see this building. Okay, good enough. Now another thing we can do is if you look over here, you can see the amount of vertices, and we can sort of strip away a lot of stuff that we don't need. I like to use the lasso tool for that. So as you can see, like this is basically the compound, right? Like with the parking lot, but we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, and we don't need this. So gonna strip that away. Let me see. We can just delete all these vertices. I'm in vertex mode, by the way. You can also do it in face mode. I like vertex mode. There we go. Oh, and I'm also in, if you press Alt Z, you switch, but it's like, I don't know how I would call it, like some sort of see-through mode. So as you can see now it's not see-through, and now it's see-through, so you can select the vertices that are behind certain faces, which is pretty handy if you want to select sort of multiple layers of vertices. Yeah, looks pretty good. I think that's all we need. The next thing is that we need to set the scale right, because if we look now, the highest point is like almost 9 meters. So from the lowest vertex to the highest vertex, that's around 9 meters, which doesn't make much sense. And for that, I have a reference. I don't know where I got this model from. I think it's from Sketchfab. I also offer it as a download in the file section of the course. But as you can see, so this model is like I set it to be the average male height, which is 1 meter and 84 centimeters. So that's going to be our reference. And if we now scale the model up, put it a little bit more up and scale it, scale it, scale it, scale it. You can now see that it starts to look like the model is actually the size of the real location. Like it won't be accurate up until to the centimeter, but I should get it at least to a point where it just makes sense. I think a tip would be like there's some, like a door, for example, has a universal height. So if you find the universal height for a door, you can sort of scale based on that. I'm just going to base it on like a car size. It seems to be like a small car. Slightly bigger. Let's try it in front of a door. Yeah, it seems okay. Okay, then we apply rotation and scale. I also put it on my quick favorites, but you can also find it objects and then underneath apply rotation and scale. That's it. Now we're all set to start modeling our very own reconstruction of this compound. So we're gonna start, gonna add a cube. And this is why I aligned the buildings to the grid before. So we can just, it's more easier to do this kind of block out. Okay, cut this through the middle. Pull that up. And one thing you always want to be looking out for is if you can mirror something. And in this case we can. We're gonna delete the left side of this building. Go to modifiers, add a modifier, and add a mirror modifier. So this way all the edits, so basically we can only edit this piece and everything will be mirrored to the other side, which is very handy. But as we can also see right here, you can see it right here, the roof sort of extends a little bit. Right. As you can see, let's see if we can get a better look. Yeah, here we can have a better look. So the roof, yeah, the roof extends a little bit on each side. So let's first take care of that. Gonna put in a loop cut, scale it flat. I did the scaling flat was, let me show you again. So you select the loop cut with alt click. So you have the loop cut as you can see. Then you can scale it in the Z direction and then press 0. So we'll flatten it out. And we can move it upwards. And then we're gonna make a loop cut right here. Delete this, and this. And the ground floor also. There we go. And then we can, let's see, oh, yeah, we can fill this one. So select both ends, press F. Now we can select this one. And now we have the inset roof, as you can see. Okay, so that's the base shape, basically. Now we have to create these sort of extrusions, and we're gonna need a couple of loop cuts for that. So one on every point. There, and there. Then one on every where it meets the wall. There, and there, and oh, there. Okay, because now we can extrude these points. We're not extrude them, we're gonna move them actually. To right about, oh, right about there. we now have these over there and over there. Do they need to be there? Yeah, that's also 5. Okay, so that's cool. I'm gonna move the ground to reference real quick. It's actually a good time to start naming our meshes. So let's say this is building 1, building 001. This is going to be building, so that's 2, 3, so that's 4. Building 4. That's going to be building 5. And building number 6. That's what I just did was also a little trick. So sometimes, because these meshes are overlapping, you sort of have a hard time trying to select it. What you can do is just press Alt and click, and then you can select between the things that are there, the sort of meshes that are there. So there we go. Back to this building. So we have these indents. Now we're gonna make these indents over here. Extrusions rather. Double tap G to edge slide. This is already in the right location. It's also in the right location. Also in the right location. And if I remember correctly, there's 5 here and there's 4 here. Just gonna make the 5th over here, and we're gonna remove it, the 5th there. Okay, so now we're gonna move these, and another trick, because we want to have them aligned to these points, right? Like if we're gonna move them out now, it'd be great if they're on the same, if they're aligned to this line. How we're gonna do that is we're gonna put on snap mode. Well, actually, in Blender 4, you can just hold Control. So you're gonna press G, the axis. In this case, it's the x-axis. Hold Control, and then select this vertex over here. And now they're perfectly aligned. So let's have a look at what we have so far. Looks pretty decent on both sides. We got the base shape. Let's add in this little extrusion. It's nice because we cut if we loop cut the base of the building, you can see that actually the 2 floors are like perfectly aligned to this. Actually, let's remove this one, move this up. There's a mistake over there. One thing with the mirror modifier, just clipping, very important, because otherwise you can move the vertices over the other mesh. If you enable clipping, it will stick. As you can see, it will stick. Okay, so let's select this till there. And move it up a little bit. It's actually level with the... There we go. Okay. Like this. can extrude that outwards. Cut that like so, cut that like so. Actually, it's a little bit smaller. Move that a little bit. Move that out a little bit. Extrudes. There we go. For neatness sake, I always like to have these lines as being straight. Something that will mess up the modeling in a later stage. So let's select them. Let's see which one is it. This one. All the way to there. Just hold Control and click where you want it to go. And then we can move it again and snap it to this vertex. And now it's straight again. The thing I notice now is that, as you can see, maybe you can, maybe you cannot. Yeah, like this. So this is not flat anymore. And that's not something we want. So we want to flatten that out. So Control Shift, click. And here the Loop Tools add-on becomes useful. Because if we would flatten it like so, just flattens it on the Z axis. And we want to flatten it. The flattening should happen as an average, how to explain this? The flattening should happen should take into account the rotation of all the faces, and it should flatten like the average of it. And that's something that the flatten function in the Loop Tools does. So if I press it, up, there you have it. It's also pretty useful for neatness sake. Okay, this looks pretty good so far. Let's see if we missed anything. I don't think the wall on this end is quite long enough. Let's move it a little bit. Have everything now there. Let's move that a little bit outwards. There we go. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's have a look at if we missed anything. All the windows are pretty easy. What we could do, you can see that sort of this little bit here stands out a little bit. I don't think it's worth it to do that now. What I do think it's worth it is that we should focus on the final large piece, which is the staircase. As you can see, like we're basically also going from big shapes to large shapes. Like this entrance here is actually attached to the building. I mean, I guess the staircase is also attached to the building, but it's a bit more complicated to get right. So we're gonna model that separate. And the nice thing is, like, if we have this building, we can just copy it over, adjust the details, like okay, there's 5 here, 5 there, 4 there. We can just adjust it later on. But if we got this basic shape right, we can just copy it over and adjust the details later. Okay, so let's move on to the staircase. Add a cube again. Scale it up. Basically the same like we did before. not that fascinating. Just trying to make sure the overall shape. All right, let's analyze what we have here. There's stairs, obviously. It's not cut right in the middle. There's an extrusion up here. But the block over here seems to be right in the middle of this piece. Yeah, so let's focus on this first. First, we need to apply the rotation and scale, otherwise the extrusion won't work. Okay, we go into edit mode. Loop select, that's alt click on one of these lines. Let's see, you can select the different loops going around, and in this case we want to select this loop. We want to extrude it. Here in this menu you can find the extrude options. We want to extrude along normals, which I'm not gonna explain all the different options here. Just in this case we want to extrude along normals. There's a link to a great video explaining all the extrude options, but for now you're just gonna have to trust me. And there we go. Extrude it like this. Seems to be fine. Okay, that's the first thing done. Next thing is we're gonna get the midpoint. This is like a pretty big. I don't think it's actually that high. Well, I don't think we need to model it that high. To me, it makes sense if the height of this thing is just the height of the one step of stairs or something. Like, I mean, we can modify it later on. Just want to have a base right now. So select this loop cut. Control B, bevel. And there we have it. Also, like this seems to be like if this is the middle, it seems to be it's not exactly cut in the middle. So we're gonna make it like slightly. Let's see, maybe we can see it in the original mesh. Push it in a little bit. There we go. The cut should be right around there. So gonna bevel it. I mean, that's gonna be the process all along, right? Like you're just gonna add loop cuts. You're basically gonna do the same thing over and over again. It doesn't sound that exciting if I say it like that. But if you get the hang of all the shortcuts, it's actually pretty easy. Go. We have that one there. A little bit wider. Look at the reference again. Yeah, it seems about right. Okay. So what do we know? We know that this piece is not here, this piece is not here. Oh, wait, no. It's a little height is there. Right around there. Yeah. Okay, so now we can remove these faces. We can remove the entire back. And actually, So you can see the cuts. This is not straight. Up, up, up. This we straighten some stuff out. Straighten some stuff out. We don't want the loop cuts, or we don't want this cut. We want to have this and this aligned. So we want this cut. I'm gonna do this is by using the knife tool, which is K, and then you can cut the mesh up. And if you press A and then C, you're gonna be able to cut along an angle, and you're gonna cut through the entire mesh. So let's do that. A and C. There we go. And now we can remove. Let's go. We can remove this one and this one, this one and this one, and hit down here. I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna cut. So we can remove all of this. There we go. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay, now for the interior, select these two edges, press F, fill. I'm gonna select these two for now. And then a loop cut, align it up to there. Loop cut, snap it. Loop cut, snap it. We can fill this. We can fill this. And let's see. Cut here. I'm gonna cut there. We can fill this one. Fill this one. Fill this. Same goes for here. I mean, in the end, we're gonna remove this, but just for now, let's just cut it. Okay. Have to fill. Cut it. Cut it. Cut and snap. Fill. Fill and fill. And then we can select this edge, that edge, fill it up. This one and this one. This one. And this one. Fill this. And so we have a problem here, but we can't fix it. I wanted to fix it by using a loop cut, but I'm actually gonna knife it, I think. Is that the best option? Okay, the stairs. So if we look at the reference again, we see that the stairs are like, it's two stairs, so it basically goes if we're on the stairs, if you imagine that we're on the stairs, goes up, there's probably like a flat spot over there, and then on the back side it goes up again to the top level. I think we're going to use a array modifier for that. Steps will go down on this side, can walk over there, and further down on that side. So let's take this piece, Shift D to duplicate it, and just move it a little bit outwards. We separate the selection. That was like pressing P is separate selection. Origin to geometry again. Go to edit mode, select and extrude it a little bit and move it up. If you look, it's like one big piece, but we're going to do the steps first. I'm going to use an array modifier. So over here, let me put on the cursor highlight. As you can see now, it goes into the wrong direction. You can fix it easily by setting it to the minus value. And then we want it to go down in the Z direction. Also -1. And that's the first step. And now if we look, we can move down. Seems about right. And then we can duplicate this, move this to the side, rotate it 180 degrees, move it down. That's our staircase. Maybe one more, up a little bit. And then one more here. Oh, seems fine. Actually, cut that right there. So the base level should be, yeah, around there. Cut it again. There. This probably is, we can see it. See it here. And we can, the thing I'm looking at is like, if it, does it come out of the pillar or is it like attached to the pillar in the back? Let me just model it so it makes more sense. There we go. So I think it's going like this. Right. Something like that. Up a little bit. Still edit the first piece, so all the other pieces will adjust to it. Doesn't really matter if there's the exact amount of steps. It's just so we have an idea. Put everything in its right place. And a little bit so it fits. There we go. I think our staircase is done. So I'm gonna speed through adding all the windows and the doors, and then we can finalize and copy this building. back. Took me a while. Had to do some readjustments. It's always the same. You notice something doesn't really fit or doesn't really work. You have to adjust it, and it's sliding, it's looping, dissolving vertices, etc., etc. Here we have our base mesh done. I added a couple of details. I added the guard towers, added the wall. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this building, duplicate the collection. This is the base mesh, and now this is gonna be official building 1. Switch this off. Building 1. Now we can apply the mirror. And then once you applied it, you can remove all the details that you put in before, but are not there in the final. Let me see, in the final mesh. Remove this entire piece. And basically, yeah, this is how you're gonna do it. I mentioned it before. It's gonna stay the same. It's just sliding, snapping, removing, and adding loops. You will always find like stuff that's not working, needs a little bit more attention. But hopefully, with the tools and techniques that I used, you'll be able to get pretty far. Obviously, if you have questions for the people who are doing the course, just ask them in the forum. For the other people who are watching this on YouTube, just leave a comment, and I'll see if I can help you. Sometimes I went a bit fast. I didn't talk about all the steps that I was doing. Still some cleanup that you could do. Stuff like this, for example. Can make it straight. Yeah, but there we have it. Building number 1. And now, of course, we can switch it off. Get the base mesh. Duplicate it. Switch off the first one. It's going to be building 2. Select everything. And again, you're just gonna adjust the building to fit the details of the mesh that comes from Google Maps. There's not much more to say about it. The sky's the limit, but I think now we have like this is a good starting point. It serves its purpose. Sizes make sense. Yeah. Same for this building, same for this building, same for this building.